All right, so now jumping to chapter 8, where it talks about monopolies. It talks about the defining characteristics of monopolies, right? Some of the most important ones being that we have a single product. There is exclusivity in terms of the ability to make or produce this product. It might be natural. It might be government granted. The cause of it is kind of inconsequential. But the important part of all those assumptions is that the monopolist is the market. So instead of having two graphs where we're graphing the market on one graph and we're graphing the individual firm on another graph, we're going to be graphing the firm and the market, because the firm is the market, on this particular graph, right? So, we can always use De Beers diamonds. As a great monopoly example, they have artificially created a scarcity of diamonds to jack the price up, and they control over 80% of the world's diamond mines. They're also the people that came up with the lie about how your engagement ring should cost 3 months of your salary in order to show that you're serious about your future spouse. That was marketed, just completely fabricated out of thin air. The good people at De Beers. I say that very facetiously. They have terrible human rights violations. So De Beers diamonds is the market for diamonds, right? There's obviously man-made diamonds and stuff like that these days that are competing, but De Beers diamond is the diamond market. And so when we're talking about a demand curve for the De Beers diamond market, we're going to be talking about something that is now downward sloping. So I'm going to graph this downward sloping with about a slope of 1. And then I'm going to graph our marginal revenue curve starting from that same point, and that's going to have a slope of about 2. We're going to have an average cost curve that looks pretty similar to the one that we have with perfect competition. It's a little bit more symmetrical of a bowl, a little bit shallower of a bowl as well. We're going to have a marginal cost curve that is a Nike swoosh shine that comes through the bottommost point of our average total cost curve. See if we can do that a little smoother. And here's where we get lost, right? Here's where we get lost. This is why the book has a breakdown of a 3-step way of figuring out what's going on with the monopolists, right? So the first step that they have is figuring out what is the profit maximizing level of output. And so the way that we answer this is we say, oh, well, I know my profit maximization rule in economics. Q star is where my marginal revenue is greater than or equal to my marginal cost. And so we're going to find our marginal revenue. We're going to find our marginal cost. We're going to find where X marks the spot, and we're going to drop an anchor down for our Q star there. Now, a lot of us are then going to want to draw and label this something, but as we learned from last class, this is nothing. This is never anything. So don't even bother drawing the dotted lines there. Why is that nothing? Because why would you charge $3 for the product when you could charge $10, right? We're always, always, always going to go up to the demand. The demand curve is telling me what customers are actually willing to pay. And so that's what we're going to do our pricing at our demand curve up there. So that's the second step, is find P star, and we find P star is where my Q star intersects my demand curve. Everybody with me still? And then our last step is similar to what we did last time, right? Where we figured out our total revenue rectangle, we figured out our total cost rectangle, and then we figured out our total profit rectangle, right? So our total revenue rectangle is going to be this thing right here. We're just going to take how much total revenue, it's going to be equal to the price times the quantity, P star times Q star. And so again, just for the sake of example here, we'll use some nice easy numbers. Let's say this is at $10, and let's say this is at 1,000. So this is 10 times 1,000. It's going to give me $10,000 of total revenue. Then I want to figure out what's going on with my total costs. Well, I have to find where my Q star intersects with my average total cost. Then I'm going to draw a rectangle there, and this is going to be my total cost.
So that'd be like $8?
Yeah, exactly. We'll just say it's 8 or something like that. And so this is going to be 8 times 1,000. And this is representative of the average total cost times the quantity. So this will give us $8,000 of total cost. So then we just subtract the total cost from the total revenue in order to get a $2,000 of profit. And the way that we show that on the graph is this rectangle that is above our total cost but below our total revenue. Questions on monopoly review? So in perfect competition land, this situation was unsustainable, right? There was free entry and exit, there was free information, so people knew that you were making all this money through the free information, and then they were able to enter the industry through the free entry and exit. Things are very different in the monopoly industry, right? There's no information, it's very opaque, and there are incredibly high barriers to entry, right? Think about if you wanted to start making jumbo jets, if you wanted to start the next, Airbus or Boeing company, right? Really, really, really high barriers to entry in terms of capital needed, patents and intellectual property, so on and so forth, right? So this is a situation that could be sustained forever. There's no economic pressures or economic forces that are driving this demand down or are driving the costs up. So this monopoly can sustain these $2,000, or $2,000 million, right? $2 trillion probably of profits because of the fact that the monopoly structure allows them to. So it's really an artifact of the market structure that they find themselves in. Questions on monopoly?